There are so many good wings in college basketball this year. And to be frank, the wing spot is a tough one to define. For us, the definition is fairly simple: players that you cannot simply classify as a guard, but that unequivocally are not big men. Miles Bridges is the perfect example. He's certainly not a guard, at least not in the college games, but the idea of listing him alongside the likes of Tyler Davis or Ethan Happ just doesn't work. Where this gets complicated is with the likes of, say, Trevin Blewett or Deng Otto or Troy Brown. It's almost as if the idea of positionless basketball makes it difficult to clearly identify players as a certain position. Almost. Which is why we give this disclaimer: we used 4 positions to rank players: lead guards, off guards, wings and big men. If your favorite player isn't on this list, he's probably slotted in a different position. Top 100 players: top backcourts, top front courts, top lead guards, top off guards, top wings, top big men. 1. Miles Bridges, Michigan State. Simply put, Bridges is the best player in college basketball this season. He's back for a sophomore season after averaging 16.9 points and 8.3 boards while shooting 38.9% from 3 as a freshman. He's a freak-of-nature athlete and a rarity in the sense that he actually embraces playing on a college campus. He wants to hear. That's why he passed up being a top 10 pick to make a run at winning a national title. As Tom Izzo says, Bridges is a weirdo. More the enigma of Miles Bridges, NBC Sports preseason All-American team, but it's not going to be that simple for Bridges. He'll be playing a new position as a sophomore. Last year, he was forced to play the majority of his minutes at the 4, as Michigan State couldn't keep any of their big men healthy, and Bridges, who checked in at 6'7", 240 pounds last season, is the perfect small ball 4. He can bang with the big boys and he can torch those same players when they try to guard him on the perimeter. This year, he's going to be playing the 3. He's not going to be guarding bigs, he's going to be guarding wings. He's not going to be defended by power forwards, he's going to draw an opponent's best perimeter defender. There are going to be different reads he has to make, different instincts and skills he has to utilize, different places that he is going to be getting shots within the Michigan State offense. That doesn't mean that Bridges is going to be worse this year. Far from it. It just means that his role is going to be different, and how he handles that change will affect whether Michigan State is national title good or just the favorite in the Big Ten. 2. Michael Porter, Missouri. There may not be a more talented player in college basketball this season than the potential number 1 overall pick Michael Porter. At 6'10", Porter has the size of a big man, the perimeter skills of a guard, and the athleticism of a 10-time NBA All-Star. He's a freak, and while I hesitate to compare him to Kevin Durant as a player, I think there is the potential that the kind of season that he has for Missouri mirrors that of Durant's freshman year. But for me, the big question for Porter, and, frankly, for Missouri, is going to be where he ends up playing. The way that the Missouri roster is constructed, Porter is probably going to end up playing the 3. That's what happens when 2 big men are among the 5 best players on a team coached by a guy that loves playing 2 bigs together. I'm not convinced that is the best place for him to play, not against college players and not when he still hasn't fully developed those perimeter skills. At the very least, I expect Porter will be able to do what Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz could not get to the NCAA tournament. Final 4 sleepers: Louisville, Villanova, West Virginia, USC, Wichita State, Miami. Michael Porter Jr., Missouri Athletics. 3. Trevin Blewett, Xavier. Anyone that watched Xavier's run to the Elite Eight in last year's NCAA tournament knows just how good Blewett can be when he gets it going. He's a walking bucket playing on a team that needs someone to carry the lion's share of their offensive production. Blewett will enter this season as a heavy favorite, alongside Villanova's Jalen Brunson and Seton Hall's Angel Delgado, to win the Big East Player of the Year award. Hell, he could have made a push for that award last season had he not hurt his ankle. Blewett is a good bet to be the Big East's leading scorer this season, and if Xavier is truly going to make a push to win the conference this year, it will be because Blewett grew into an All-American. 4. Deng Otto, Louisville. Otto is going to test out just how complicated can a season get for a player. Let's start with what's happening on the court. After spending his freshman season banged up, Otto was thought by many to be a breakout candidate as a sophomore, and to a point, he actually was. He was very good down the stretch of last season, although that growth was somewhat overshadowed by the fact that Donovan Mitchell was awesome. This was supposed to be Otto's year to become the superstar for this team, to show NBA teams why he's worthy of a contract, but a wrench got thrown into those plans when Rick Pitino was fired as a result of the FBI's investigation into corruption in college hoops. Now, instead of playing for one of the greatest coaches in the history of the sport, Otto will be looking for make that improvement under the tutelage of a 32-year-old first-time head coach. Let's see how this plays out. Top 100 players, top backcourts, top frontcourts, dang Otto and E Lions, Getty Images, top lead guards, top off guards, top wings, top big men 5. Vince Edwards. Purdue. Edwards has quietly been a productive, versatile and vital cog in the Purdue machine over the course of the last 2 seasons. He's a multi-positional defender that makes threes and distributes the ball with an efficiency that should make stat heads swoon. He's not really cut out to be a star, but he was quietly much more effective last season than OG Anunoby, an in-state rival that got all of these accolades last preseason. Anunoby is off to the NBA after an injury-plagued season, meaning that it is time for Edwards to get his due. With Caleb Swanigan gone, he'll have to shoulder more of the offensive load this season, but assuming that Carson Edwards can develop into a go-to guy offensively for the Boilermakers, Edwards should prove to NBA teams why he has value as a role player. 6. Kevin Knox, Kentucky. I'm torn on Knox when it comes to ranking him on this list. On the one hand, the kid is a terrific talent. He's a top 10 prospect in a very good class with the tools and the athleticism to make him an intriguing player in the eyes of the NBA. But to me, he's more of a power forward with some perimeter skill than he is a small forward at this point in his development. In other words, the role I see him playing in his career is as a small ball 4, a guy that should be tasked with getting to the glass and being a switchable defender, all while taking advantage of the slow-footed power forwards that will try to keep him in front at the other end. But on this Kentucky team, Knox will likely never play that role, not with the amount of front-court talent John Calipari has at his disposal and the lack of depth available in the backcourt. This, to me, has the feel of Kentucky trying to fit Trey Lyles into the lineup as a 3 when that role just wasn't quite right for his skill set. It will be interesting to see how that will play out for Knox, who picked perimeter playing time at Kentucky over a more natural small ball 4 role that he could have played at Duke or North Carolina. Contender Series: Kentucky, Kansas, Arizona, Michigan State, Duke. Troy Brown, John Lopez, Nike. 7. Troy Brown, Oregon. It's going to be fascinating to see how Oregon head coach Dana Altman opts to use Brown this season, because he's never really had a play of Brown's ilk at his disposal. Brown is something of a 6'6" forward, an uber-versatile wing that isn't exactly a scorer and isn't exactly a shooter, but that can handle the rock and ball screen actions and is capable of creating off the bounce for himself and for his teammates. Think P.J. Dozier, a former South Carolina player that is now on a 12-way contract with Oklahoma City. Altman's never really had a guy like that at Oregon. He's had a lot of guys that were tweeners, but they were either score-first forwards Dylan Brooks or freak athletes that work as switchable defenders Jordan Bell, Elgin Cook, Dwayne Benjamin. Brown will be a different kind of player on a team that returns essentially just a single relevant guy from last year's Final Four team. Altman is as good as anyone at finding a way to make new rosters fit together, and I'm excited to see how he decides to utilize Brown's talent. 8. Benny Boatwright, USC. Boatwright was a guy that I expected to be something of a breakout star as a freshman, and to a point he was. He averaged 15.1 points in 27 minutes, shooting 36.4% from 3 on the season. But he also missed roughly half the season with knee issues. He's healthy now, and that is a major reason why I think that USC has a shot to be a Pac-12 title contender and a Final Four team this year. There's a reason they call him Benny Buckets, and we're going to see it this season. 9. Jeff Carroll, Oklahoma State. No one benefited more from Brad Underwood's one season at Oklahoma State than Jeff Carroll, who went from a no-name role player on a mediocre team to a 17-point scorer and a 44% three-point shooter on a tournament team. Now, with Jalen Evans in the professional ranks and Underwood at Illinois, it is going to be Carroll who carries the water as new head coach Mike Boynton looks to navigate his first season as a head coach, wading into the Big 12 with the stench of an assistant coach fired after being arrested by the FBI hanging over the program. 10. Justin Jackson, Maryland. Jackson is one of the guys that I think will have a breakout 201,718 season. I don't think it's crazy to project him as a potential top 20 pick in the 2018 NBA draft. He's 6'7" with a 7'2" wingspan, the ability to make threes and the skill set to play the 3 or the 4. Players like him at the future of the NBA. The big question is going to be how much of that shines through this season at Maryland. There's a changing of the guard for the Terps, as Melo Trimble is off to the NBA and a sophomore class that includes Jackson, Anthony Cowan and Kevin Huerter takes over. Jackson put up some massive games as a freshman, but consistency was an issue. How will that play out this year? Big Ten preview, ACC preview, Big 12 preview, Pac-12 preview. Justin Jackson, Rob Kurgiti. Images 11. Amir Coffey. Minnesota. Coffey is such an important piece for what Minnesota does. He's a multi-positional defender with offensive versatility that takes some of the playmaking pressure off Minnesota's backcourt. 12. Jacob Evans, Cincinnati. As much as everyone wants to talk about Cincinnati's front court, there's a line of thinking that Evans may actually be the best player on the Bearcat roster. He did lead them in scoring as a sophomore. 13. Mustafa Heron, Auburn. A former five-star recruit lured to Auburn by Bruce Pearl, Heron is going to be asked to carry the water for a Tiger team that has the pieces to make a run to the NCAA tournament this season. 14. Mikal Bridges, Villanova. We've been waiting for Bridges to make a leap as a player for a couple years now, and that has not yet happened. But even without it, he's still been effective for the Wildcats thanks to his length, defensive prowess and ability to score from the perimeter. 15. J.P. Macura, Xavier. With all the attention that Trevin Blewett gets, Macura has flown under the radar. But he is a talented, versatile player that led Xavier through some difficult stretches last season. He is a tough kid that isn't going to back away from a challenge. Top 100 players, top backcourts, top front courts, top lead guards, top off guards, top wings, top big men. Big 10 preview, ACC preview, Big 12 preview, Pac-12 preview. 16. Kellen Martin, Butler. The big thing with Martin this season is going to be consistency. He has the ability to score 25 points and a half on any given night, but he can turn into something of a gunslinger that hunts shots at the detriment to his team's offense. How will new Butler head coach LaVall Jordan handle that? 17. Jordan Caroline, Nevada. Caroline is probably the most talented player in the Mountain West this season. He had some explosive performances last season, and with Nevada losing two of their top three scorers, he'll be asked to do much more on that end of the floor. 18. Theo Pinson, North Carolina. This may be something of a reach for a guy that has never proven to be a consistent scorer, but his playmaking and the fact that Roy Williams can slot him at the 4 in need be makes him incredibly valuable. I think he has a big senior season. 19. Chandler Hutchison, Boise State. If Caroline is the most talented player in the league, Hutchison may be the best. He's my pick to win Mountain West Player of the Year. 20. Josh Okogie, Georgia Tech. Okogie is a name you need to familiarize yourself with. He averaged 16 points in the ACC as a freshman and made the cut for the U19 World Cup, a team coached by John Calipari. Overkids. Cal was recruiting